Hello, good morning and welcome to the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps. We are in the Belgian Ardennes for the opening race weekend of the Carrera Cup season. Carrera Cup Deutschland, Carrera Cup France, and most importantly, perhaps for the local fans, Carrera Cup Benelux. Cars heading out from the endurance pits around this glorious circuit with a little bit of a new look in places. We'll talk about that, as you can see on the right-hand side of your picture. And then they come round to form up on the endurance race grid. This is the dummy grid. The start will be taken on the Formula One grid as they will race away past the F1 pits down to La Source for the first time. You can see already lots of fans flooding into the circuit, and just fantastic to have so many fans coming in here. Down below me in the endurance racing in the Formula One pits where the World Endurance Championship is, the pit walk is underway. Lots and lots of fans getting close to the cars and their heroes. And here on the grid walk as well. In the black and white jacket, Olivier Ertz, the man responsible for Carrera Cup Benelux, hosting guests on this dummy grid. And after yesterday's first race around this glorious 7-kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit, I'm sure, without a doubt, the drivers will be eager for more. The man on pole position, yesterday's winner, Harry King, will be eager to win again. And everybody behind him will be eager to fare a little better than they did yesterday. So whether that comes to pass or not remains to be seen. As over the last few years, this is the 10th season that they have been running Porsche Carrera Cup, not always under the name Carrera Cup. It was a sprint series in its early days, in its infancy, but now a fully fledged Carrera Cup, one of a number dotted around the globe. The Benelux series with 3 different classes. Pro drivers, who tend to be the overall podium fillers, and the guys at the front, the Pro-Am, and the Am category. The Am category, distinctly for newcomers to the series, newcomers to Porsche racing. It's a difference predominantly between the experience of the drivers and the experience of the rest of the field, but as an addition to help ease new drivers in, because driving a 911 race car of any kind, and particularly these ferocious cup cars, is definitely an art. It's a very different experience to anything else, and Porsche drivers will tell you, if you can drive a 911 fast, you can drive anything. And to help the newcomers in the Am category, those cars and those cars alone are equipped with ABS braking systems, which just allows them to get a little bit deeper into the corners under braking than perhaps otherwise they might dare to. Wow, look at this place. It's just one of the world's great race circuits, you know, Spa, Monza, Silverstone, Monaco, Nürburgring. There are so many legendary circuits across Europe, and for a good reason. Not just because they've been around for a long time, not just because they produce great racing, but it's a combination of the two. It's the history of this place. When you're on the grid here, looking down to Eau Rouge, you know that Jim Clark, Sterling Moss, Fangio, Senna, Schumacher, any generation you care to name, sat on the grid and looked at very largely the same view. In the olden days, the trees were nearer, there were barbed wire fences keeping the cows off the road, and the whole old road circuit was a very different beast indeed. But this modern Grand Prix iteration that was created in the 1980s is very much the spiritual follower of the old Grand Prix road circuit, and it is still a massive challenge. And in fact, with the work that's been done here, introducing a load of gravel traps where there used to be tarmac runoff, it has become more of a challenge again for the drivers, and universally all the drivers have said, yeah, it adds to the challenge of this place. It is actually a positive step. And for slightly more mature motor racing fans like myself, I can remember when gravel traps were first introduced, and drivers lamenting the fact that they couldn't bounce across the grass and come back on, they'd get stuck in the gravel traps. Well, there you can see some of the groundworks that have been going on. Just at the top of the climb out of the legendary Eau Rouge, the drivers will be seeing it from here. On the top of the hill at Rédillon is a massive new grandstand, a fantastic edifice, fully covered, and loads of seating. Of course, lots of trackside seating as well, which the fans will be taking great advantage of in this fabulous late spring weather, early summer weather almost today. It's been 2 beautiful days already so far, and today has dawned just as gorgeous at Spa. And is there a better play? I'll take money that not too many drivers on this grid would want to be somewhere else in any other kind of weather. This is a phenomenal racetrack, and on a day like today, what a beautiful place to go racing. Later in the day, the FIA World Endurance Championship, 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps will get underway. There is weather forecast for the afternoon, but such is the capricious nature of the weather gods in this particular region of the Ardennes, that it may or may not rain, sleet, snow, hail, or just bake us in the sunshine. So we'll have to wait and see what the afternoon brings. But for this morning, for the competitors in the Carrera Cup Benelux, a chance again to right the wrongs of yesterday and perhaps be a little more careful with the track limits. A number of drivers paid a fairly hefty penalty in terms of race result for exceeding track limits during the race, and they will all have the opportunity to take on this fantastic edifice for a second time. So let's tell you a little bit about the cars as they start to head away. The white and blue car on pole position, front and, well, not front and centre, front and to the driver's right, to your left is Harry King, Parker Revs Motorsport. The Revs part is the Belgian arm of the operation, run by Patrick de Groot from his workshops just northeast of Maastricht. And Harry King, a regular last year and this in the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. I'm sure coming back to Spa, he was hoping for a little better fortune than last year. Last year's Super Cup race was very wet, and Harry had one of his best showings of the season to that stage until he got clattered off by somebody else from a strong run in the top half of the top 10. He'll be hoping for a lot more of that. So Parker Revs Motorsport, I'm being reminded, Dutch, not Belgian. There's a Dutchman for you. There's Johnny Lauritsen, Jan Lauritsen rather, who was our Pro-Am winner yesterday. He finished 9th overall and won the Pro-Am category. He was just a little bit ahead of what was a fairly titanic midfield battle with Am and the Pro-Am cars. Sebastian Freimut in the yellow and blue machine. Son of Oliver Freimut, a long-time Porsche racer. Sebastian also racing in Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, which will follow this race immediately, as it did yesterday. So he steps hot and sweaty and possibly slightly tired, straight from one Carrera Cup car to another. And a pretty successful first race in both categories yesterday. As they come around the lower part of the circuit through Piff Paff here, you can see gravel traps in the background. Gravel traps pretty much all the way down the hill on the outside of the circuit from Les Combes. Gravel traps around Les Combes, closer to the circuit as well. You can see the gravel here fringing the edges of the curbs. This is down through campus, named after the educational facility on the inside. And again, you can see the gravel trap very close here. If you run off on the outside here, you bounce across the gravel, then hit this big patch of tarmac. There's gravel on the outside there as well. Starting to climb out from Cours Paul Frere. Again, more gravel traps around the outside, and particularly on the outside of Blanchiment. It's flat out in top gear. Blind up the hill is even more edgy these days, because if you get it wrong, there's not acres of tarmac in which to collect it. You head off into the gravel. And that does mean that drivers have to be a little bit more circumspect, a little bit more precise, particularly if they're in the heat of battle, or if in a longer race like the WEC race, the tyres are starting to be beyond their best. And you have to be very cautious, because an off here can cost you a lot more than it might have done 12 months or even 6 months ago. So let's talk about the grid as they come through then. Harry King, the man who will line up on pole position from Ghislaine Cordeel. Cordeel finished 3rd yesterday, starts 2nd here today. And starting 3rd, yesterday's silver medalist, Glenn van Parijs. He lines up behind Harry King. On the outside of row 2, Maxime Soulet starts 4th, finished 4th yesterday. The grid set for race 1 by their fastest lap in qualifying. The grid set for race 2 by their 2nd fastest lap in qualifying. Harry King taking both pole positions. So his fastest lap was quicker than anybody else's. His 2nd fastest lap, ditto. Just parked a little bit skew, facing very slightly to the driver's left as they sit on the grid. He is going to be trying to shut off Ghislaine Cordeel as they head down to the tight right-hand hairpin at La Source. The green flag flies, the red lights are coming on, and away we go. 22 cars making their start. Oliver Freimut showing in the middle. The red car, Sam de Jong, not getting away well from 6th on the grid. There's dust behind Harry King, who turns in front. And in 2nd place, he's laying Cordeel, but he's got a battle on his hands. Maxime Soulet trying to get in there as well. Number 2 car down the inside. That's Ghislaine Cordeel just hanging on in front of Glenn van Parijs. And Sam de Jong ahead of Maxime Soulet. So Sam de Jong dropped down at the start of yesterday's race. He's come up a little bit further behind. They're side by side. You can see the blue and yellow colours of Sebastian Freimut. He's made a move up from 8th on the grid as well. Around the outside of Xavier Masson. Does he get the move done? He does. 30 minutes of this plus 1 lap, and Masson under pressure as well from behind. The orange and black is the double reigning champion, Dylan Daerdeler. doesn't get through. Some great liveries on these cars, glinting in this beautiful weather here at Spa-Francorchamps. Pouring on down the hill through the newly renamed Jackie X corner, Courbe Jackie X. So, second corner on a racetrack, to my knowledge, named after the great Belgian driver, Jackie X Bot. Is it Solder, is it not? I'll be corrected on that in a moment by René de Boer if I'm wrong, but that seems about right. There's Oliver Freymut, beg your pardon, Sebastian Freymut. There's the habit of a lifetime. Sebastian Freymut, easily spottable with the yellow and blue highlights. And then our Pro-Am winner, Jan Laursen, the bright blue car with that red strip down the centre. He is leading Pro-Am. Right behind him, Joan Vignes. Joan Vignes in the AM class. Harry King broke away early on yesterday, is doing the same at the moment. Ghislaine Cordeel at the last split was 1.7 seconds back. This is a stunning opening lap from Harry King. Ramps the car over the curbs, Cordeel deep out, braking himself. That's going to leave him very vulnerable to Glenn van Parijs right behind him. Parijs with the yellow highlights rather, flashing the headlights. It was in there somewhere, the word headlights came out eventually in about the right place, doesn't get by. Wow, though Cordeel got away with that by the skin of his teeth. And there is the battle, Laursen and Vignes. Tom Bonen right behind. Tom Bonen third at the line in the Pro-Am class yesterday, but with a slew of penalties, dropped him back down the order. Ooh, that was nearly door handle to door handle there into Eau Rouge, and that is brave if you're going to carry it off. So, good pass by Lucas van Eijnhoven on Jan Laursen. Van Eijnhoven runs the Porsche Centrum Maastricht. Harry King leading from Ghislaine Cordeel and Glenn van Parijs. Well, those were our podium finishes yesterday in the Pro class. Cordeel third, van Parijs second, King first. So position one remains the same. Ooh, running out very wide indeed there in fifth place was Maxime Soulet. Got away with that, but he will have a lot of filth on the tyres. Luc van der Vesten is the man who runs the Porsche Centrum Maastricht. Van Eijnhoven, a student, so a little younger than that. I'm getting my fans and my Lucs mixed up. Battle for second place though, no mistake in the colours of our runner-up yesterday, Glenn van Parijs. All over the back of Ghislaine Cordeel, and with Sam de Jong there in the bright red 777 Red Ant racing machine. De Jong waiting to pounce, didn't make much of an inroad into the field yesterday, Sam. And for a man of his experience, that was, I'm sure, a little bit frustrating. Maxime Soulet a bit on his own, and then Sebastian Freymut with Xavier Masson for company. Not the only Masson here this weekend, Sacha Masson is here as well, coaching some of Porsche's young drivers. He's the man who looks after the young driver programme in the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup and elsewhere. Ooh, big and very deep Lucas van Eijnhoven, number 14, over-rotating into the bus stop. Well, here's how Harry King does it. Takes a lot of the curb on the way in. Controlled it a little better. And then back to our midfield battle. Finn Mulders in the Speed Lover car, number 17 in the AM class. Right behind him is Sebastian Lejeune. Lejeune had a good run yesterday in the AM class, claimed victory. The man who should have been the AM winner though was Steen Lovett in the number 24 car. That just ahead of this little battle. And he led all the way, almost literally all the way to the flag. He could probably see the flag when he got tagged from behind out of the bus stop on the very final lap, and ended up facing the wrong way. The car stalled, he couldn't get it going again, and basically the entire Anfield went by him. Tom Bonen ended up picking up a 30-second penalty for that. Just saw a car shoot up the escape road, and that was the white and green car number 7. And that was Didier Glorieux, third in Pro-Am yesterday in the end after various penalties for track limits for others. But he was, as he is today, stuck in the middle of the AM group. And Glorieux finding it difficult to get by yesterday, and I think he may do again today for the same reason, because the AMs can brake a little later and a little deeper because they do have ABS, and the Pro-Am cars do not. And that was Glorieux yesterday as well. Made a big dive up the inside at Les Combes and just could not get the car slowed. He was trying to brake later than the guys with ABS, and it didn't work. And that's exactly, I think, what he was doing there. Looks to the inside of Le Jeu. This is down at Campus. Does not manage to get through. Trying to find an advantage on Spa-Francorchamps and its medium to high-speed sweepers that doesn't involve out-braking them in a big stop is going to be very tough indeed. So Wim Wilders right ahead of Le Jeu. And that white and green car again. Didier Glorieux stuck in the middle of an AM class battle. Behind him, 911, Van der Vesten. Third in the AM class yesterday in that white with the rear black. 911, 3 wide, here we go. Now then, can Didier Glorieux get by both of them down into La Source? He's got the inside line, he'll have to brake a little earlier. That may not be a disadvantage. Car rotates a lot more than he was anticipating. Did not get by, but he held the position that he made. Didn't get by Willem Wilders, but he did hold off Sébastien Le Jeu, yesterday's AM class winner. A little bit further up, here's the battle now for third. Glenn van Parijs and 777 Sam de Jonge. Sam working on the man in front. Van Parijs second in yesterday's race, therefore second in the championship overnight. Wilders again under pressure from Glorieux, and again a little bit of a move up the inside from Philip Wils. Wils in number 10, the grey, it's a black car, trying to work on the inside and find a way to get by. Didn't really work. Sébastien Le Jeu holding on at the moment. Oh, Le Jeu running out very wide there though, as they start to sweep down the hill. Here in the Jackie X curve, that corner on the inside, or that piece of track on the inside, you can just see in the top, in the background, that is the track they'll be using as Glorieux goes down the inside. He's finally worked out a way to get by these guys down into the Double Gauche, or Pouin as it's known. Through he goes. Well, he obviously has been thinking hard about what happened yesterday and how he was going to make a difference today, and he has been able to. Has worked out how to get the better of these cars, despite the fact that they've got their ABS braking. Back with our second, third and fourth place battle. Again, Ghislaine Cordale just ahead of Glenn van Parijs and Sam de Jonge. But our race leader, Harry King, comfortably clear, 6.6 seconds at the moment. And this battle is only going to aid that escape of the race leader, because these three, as they focus on each other, will be going a little less fast than the leader. Jan Larison still leading in the Pro-Am class. Joan Vignier still leading the AMs. Tom Bonen second in Pro-Am. And Wouters in third. And then Glorieux up to fourth. But this is an all-AM battle, looking down the inside. No dice there. This is the two vans. Van der Vesten just in front. Van Eindhoven giving chase and trying to get a good run, and he has. Look at the back of the picture. The white 911 is under real pressure as they come up the Kemmel Straight. Van Eindhoven pulling out on the inside. Pulling out on the inside as well is Wim Wilders, doesn't manage, is Le Jeu rather, doesn't manage to get a run going. And Van Eindhoven couldn't complete that one either. early pit stop for Parkeres Motorsport, Jeroen Kreeft, at the end of yesterday's race. Took him out of contention, or not quite out of being classified as a finisher. He is still going in 21st place. Sven van Leeuwen in the pit lane. JW Race Service car. See what happened to him, quite why he has bailed and headed into the pits. Good AM battle raging here. Joan Vigne's a long way clear of this. The leader in AMS, Steenlevet. Again, looking to right the wrongs of yesterday. In the NGT Racing number 424 car, he is in second. Here's our overall race leader though, Harry King. Now 7.6 seconds clear. Ooh, that's a penalty. So he will serve a time penalty for that. Clear cut on the inside of turn 4. And unfortunately, the more you do that, the more problems you're going to get. Car number 17 and 97, both being pinged for track limits in turn 19. And that is Blanchimont. Long, fast run up the hill. So 17, Vermolders, and 19, that was Harry King. 54 and 13 now for track limits in turn 17. Oh, so 19 is the bus stop, 17 is Blanchimont. And again, this battle further back. Van der Vesten and Van Eindhoven. Van Eindhoven right in the wheel tracks again. Now he's got a good run. He'll pick up the tow, he'll pick up the slipstream. Luc Van Eindhoven behind Luc Van der Vesten. And Didier Glorieux being dive-bombed there and passed. Glorieux trying to find his way back past Steenlevet, and does so. They roll on down the hill. The new tarmac on the exit here of Brussels, making front-end grip much easier to find. Now, here at the bus stop, what are we seeing? Oh, big rotation. That's a real shame. Chopping Sebastian Lejeune way down the order. Lejeune, yesterday's AM winner, does not look like day 2 is going quite the same way for him. Well, Harry King's race is going very nice indeed. End of this lap, already 8.6 seconds ahead of this battle. Oh, Ghislain Cordel again, very deep into the bus stop. Glenn van Parijs is there. Parijs gets too much snap oversteer. Sam de Jong now with a run. Not quite close enough, maybe, to make a move into La Source, but enough to make a nuisance of himself. Again, Cordel got away with that going into the bus stop. Van Parijs got away with that coming out of the bus stop. Just chasing the throttle too eagerly, back stepped out, and all that momentum was gone. Cordel, well, he hasn't got time to breathe a sigh of relief, but he did escape there. Ooh. Now Van Parijs again cut the corner too much on the inside. All 4 wheels definitely within the white line, and there is a fixed camera there. Race control will definitely know when track limits are being exceeded. Ghislain Cordel again under pressure, and Van Parijs on the inside. 2 wheels over the curb, but that's a good pass up to second place. Yesterday, second place finish, and here comes Sam de Jong. De Jong trying to get down the inside as well into Brussels. A lot of front-end grip, much more than the drivers will have been used to in previous years. It's really changed what you can do into the corner. It's become more of a potential overtaking point again. Sam de Jong using that grip. The inside line really works there now. That's going to change the nature of this race. Well, what a dramatic few corners then. Watch around the outside. Glenn van Parijs avoids contact, but squeezes through for second, and then Sam de Jong in the red and machine makes the move for third. What are we seeing here? Oh, a huge moment. Oh, that's heart and mouth stuff for Rick Kuhn. PG Motorsport driver in the pro class. Very 1970s green and purple livery, loving that. And right behind him, all over the back, is Jan Laursen, yesterday's Pro-Am winner. Laursen currently 10th overall, looking for 9th. Piling the pressure on Rick Kuhn. Fast sectors coming in from Stijn Lorette, Willem Mulders and Glenn van Parijs. Parijs now free in second place, starting to really try and push on, and Laursen down the inside. Doesn't get it completed. Mole on the inside tells me that Kuhn celebrated his 18th birthday here at Spa on Thursday. Not a bad late birthday present, is it? 2 races for the teenager. Meanwhile, this battle rages on, and contact in... Ooh! Now then, have we got cars stuck in the gravel? That is not good news. Philip Wils in the gravel, tail end in. Lucas van Eindhoven, the man who started that, and Wils is beached. I think we're going to see potentially our first interruption. The Speed Lover car is not coming out of there, I don't think. Oh, it might, if he can get it fired up again. Well, Luc van Eindhoven was the man who triggered that. Luc van der Vesten couldn't avoid the back of the Speed Lover machine and clipped Philip Wils' car as he was going through. It is a safety car. No full course yellows for these cars, I'm afraid. And just in too deep. Look at that. It's not even half a metre from the gravel, that rear right wheel. If he could have somehow just managed to get to the curb, but there's no traction available. It will need a drag. I'm afraid it's Luc van Eindhoven on the inside who makes contact in piff-paff. And, yep. Van der Vesten can't avoid him. Now, did he get out of the gravel? Didn't quite see the end of that shot. Well, a shame. It was a bit of a bold move from Van Eindhoven, but did not work. So Van Eindhoven, youth and impetuosity not coming to his aid. So the universal grab will be fitted to the roof of the car, and he'll be hoiked up in the air. A definite advance, particularly in terms of the collateral damage done to cars by being dragged through gravel traps, either forwards or backwards, is to lift them up, thereby not increasing the damage. It also actually, once the race car is out of the gravel, makes it a lot easier for the all-wheel vehicle then to traverse back across the gravel trap. These marshals here at Spa-Francorchamps well rehearsed. I'm sure most of them will be camping just on the edge of the track behind the barriers. What a beautiful weekend for it as well. Beautiful weekend for camping, barbecues in the evening, along with good friends, and some fantastic motor racing to be a part of as well. And all the men and women in orange, all the other officials at the circuit, particularly the marshals, unpaid volunteers. And our thanks to them for giving up their time, their week, their weekend, come out and make motor racing possible, because without the marshals there would be no motor racing. Oh, right, well, there is the end of the road, I'm afraid, for Luc van der Vesten. That contact, I didn't think he was going to get away with that, and in the end I think the what he hoped would continue has not. The right front corner, I think that was the one that took the impact with a stationary car. And suspension has finally collapsed, so he will need rescuing as well. That is up at Blanchimont. So our race director, with one problem solved, has had another appear. So there is the first car, heading back behind the barriers. So Philip Wils is out, I'm afraid. Luc van der Vesten is out as well. Well, there is the Formula One pit lane, which ironically is the World Endurance pit lane. The Endurance pit lane is the Carrera Cup pit lane. And absolutely rammed with fans. So the safety car remains out, and all of Harry King's hard work has evaporated, but he's been out on his own from lap 1. And that means he'll have been able to look after his tyres. He hasn't just been ragging the car mercilessly. He's been pushing on to maintain a handy gap. But he should have plenty to battle with, because in second, Glenn van Parijs, in third, Sam de Jong, in fourth, Ghislaine Cordeel have all been battling hard. Maxime Soulet catches up in fifth, ahead of Sebastian Freymut, Xavier Masson, double champion Dylan Derdeler and Rick Kuhn. And then Jan Lauritsen still in 10th place, the bright blue car with the red stripe up the centre. He is our Pro-Am leader. Right behind him, Joan Vignez in the Am category. And Vignez new to Carrera Cup Benelux, but has had racing experience years ago, raced in Spanish Super Touring for Audi at the end of the 90s. His teammate was the champion, a chap called Jordi Genet. Jordi, part of a very successful pair of racing brothers, Jordi Genet, Marc Genet. Jordi. It's anglicised as Jordi most often. Mark we have fewer problems with. And again, great to see fans in the grandstands. The grandstands actually opposite the Formula One pit lane are almost deserted. Most of those fans, I think, are actually in the Formula One pit lane, enjoying their pit walk. But up at the top of the hill, or halfway up the hill, let's say, at Rédillon, the grandstand there is filling up nicely, and it is a great viewing point. You can see the cars not just coming out of La Source all the way down the hill and back up past you through Eau Rouge and Rédillon, and you can see them in the depression in Eau Rouge as well. But you can actually see them as they come out of the trees, exiting Blanchimont. You can see them along the straight, briefly hidden by the Formula One pit buildings, and then you can see them as they exit La Source all the way down the hill. So you get a fantastic view of some of the key overtaking points on this track. Okay, so the rescue vehicle now has 911 under tow. Luc van der Vesten heading back in. Philip Wils is out. Sven van Leeuwen pitted very early on. That means Jeroen Kreft is now in 5th place in the AM class. He is our last running car. Luc van Eijnhoven, though, I think may well end up with a penalty post-race. That incident will be looked at. But from what we saw, Van Eijnhoven sends it up the inside into Pif Paf. Turn 12, as it's so romantically known, to avoid any fear of mistake. But it did look like Luc van Eijnhoven sent it up the inside, and Philip Wils had nowhere to go. He was committed to turning in, and unfortunately 2 into 1 didn't that successfully go with it. Tom Bonen there in the 21 Napa car, just ahead of Canvalters. He's done a lot of racing over the years. There's another racing family. I can tell you a number of things. I've seen him pop up in occasionally in the Low Countries. So safety car will come in this lap. End of timing sector 2, the lights will go out, and the end of timing sector 2, my map doesn't tell me, or it sort of does, not does. It's sort of between Coeur Frère and Blanchimont. I have to have a little bit of a annotate on my map. 4 minutes plus 1 lap. So we will get another lap plus the extra lap. Essentially, if the leader crosses the line with 1 second of the 30 minutes remaining, he does another lap, and then the next time he gets to the line, that becomes the plus 1. So what will it take? It'll take 30 seconds from here, maybe, to get to the line, which will leave them 3 minutes. So this is probably, and it's a what, 2-minute 20 lap? Yeah, a couple and 3, maybe. Koen Wouters and Chris Wouters both have dabbled in racing all sorts of things over the years. And for those not of a Belgian disposition or from the Low Countries, I'll tell you they're part of a famous band called Clouseau. Of course, for most Anglophiles or most English-speaking music lovers, the most famous Belgians we all think of as French: Johnny Hallyday, Plastic Bertrand. But Clouseau, a Belgian band. We go green once more. Harry King, the race leader. Yesterday's race winner from Glen Parijs and Ghislaine Cordeel. Sam de Jonge, though, now in 3rd place. I think de Jonge fancies his chances for 2nd. Glen Parijs, car number 15, in 2nd position. Harry King, number 19, pole position man for both races. Fastest lap and fastest, second fastest lap, if you see what I mean, in qualifying. The fastest 2 laps of anybody in qualifying. That gave him pole for both races. Canted away yesterday in an all-green race to win by a country mile, and looks as though he's going to do the same again, having a little wave just to get the feel for the front end before he gets on the brakes at Les Combes. Sebastian Framer, the yellow and blue car, under pressure from behind. Maxime Soulet, the black car, Xavier Masson, there's Soulet. And a couple of well-known Belgian racing names. Them. Dylan Derdeler, the orange and black car, number 99, double champion, as is Xavier Masson. Derdeler, the reigning champion, last year's pro champ. Sebastian Framer, a cracking race. There is Jan Lauritsen in the blue car, looking down the inside of Rick Koen. Does he get through? He does. Good pass. Caught the man in the 1970s, slightly psychedelic green and purple livery car by surprise. Dived down the inside. It was a good pass, well judged, well taken, and now it looks like he's going to start to close on Dylan Derdeler in front. Doesn't need to, but he does want to move up the order. Tom Bonen 2nd from Chris Wouters, from Koen Wouters. In 3rd place. And Harry King romping away again. King raced in the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup last year and also had 2 wins in the Benelux race in Spielberg. Benelux-ish at the Red Bull Ring. Was not eligible for points. Took victory anyway. Framer in 5th place, got a little queue behind him at the moment, but we saw yesterday in the closing stages, he was quick early on, and in the closing stages just had to fight a massive defensive battle, and it looks as though that's the way this is going again. He chose his tyre pressures. Oh, some very Dylan there. Almost at a different postcode. He was so far inside the white lines as he came popping out through turn 4. But he's trying to attack. Dylan Derdeler with the orange, big orange highlights right behind Xavier Masson. Can't get through there. Masson 28, Derdeler 99. So 2 double champions in the Carrera Cup Benelux, at it, hammer and tongs, right in front of our Pro-Am leader, yesterday's Pro-Am winner. Just ahead of them, Maxime Soulet, all over the back of 31, the yellow and blue car, Sebastian Framer. Time has run out, so when Harry King gets to the line this time, the final lap will start. So this plus one more. Look at Sébastien Freymuth running out very wide indeed. He's got no grip left at all. And taking candy from a baby, Maxime Soulet can hold the line and just sweeps round the inside. Lots of dirt being kicked up there, dust from the gravel. It was spilled earlier, and dropping back now into sixth place, Sébastien Freymuth, the yellow and blue car. He's got the two champions behind him, but again, Dylan Daedler in real trouble, runs out very wide indeed. That's about the only place you can escape the gravel if you're lucky, but around the outside, Laursen trying to make the move. Jan Laursen doesn't care if the guy's in front of him in his class or not. They both run out a little wide over the track edge there. Maybe track limits to be warned about there. Daedler being warned already about turn 17. And that is Blanchimont, where they ran out wide this lap. He ran out wide last lap as well. 5-second penalties now starting to be applied for the offenders. 5-second penalty for Xavier Masson. 5-second penalty too for Wim Molders in the AM class for running out too wide too often at Blanchimont. Down into Eau Rouge. Resurfaced there as well, more grip. The ripply bumps have gone in the depression when the car is really ground down on its bump stops by the G-forces as you hit the bottom and start to climb. Those bumps which so unsettle the cars, and particularly lower downforce cars like these GT cars, like these Cup cars. It's a much smoother ride. There's more grip there, more of a flat-out corner, but it is still very tippy-toes. I was on the grandstand watching these guys in practice, and they are you can really hear the tyres wailing as they sweep up from the compression in Eau Rouge over Rédillon. It's that second element as they climb in Eau Rouge. The tyres are still being ground into the track, but the driver is demanding that instead of turning right, they now turn left. And they're not at all keen. Little battles all the way down the order continuing. Wim Molders under pressure, and through on the inside goes Luc van Eindhoven. I think the pro driver, though, will end up with post-race penalties. He's not going to be in the top three in the pro class anyway, and recovering after his earlier incident. So, final lap of the race, Harry King leading from Glenn Parijs and Sam de Jonge, and Harry King heading to his second win of the weekend. The checkered flag awaits. He is out of the bus stop. He's made it look very straightforward. 2 pole positions, 2 wins for Harry King. 2 second places for Glenn van Parijs, and Sam de Jonge takes third at the checkered flag ahead of Ghislaine Cordeel, Maxime Soulet, Xavier Masson just ahead of Dylan Daedler and Sébastien Freymuth. But now we're starting to see some penalties come in. Jan Laursen wins Pro-Am, but penalty. Tom Bonen being shown as the Pro-Am winner. Now, he was penalised post-podium out of the top 3 yesterday, ends up back in the top 3. No doubt of our overall winner, though, and that is Harry King. Winner in the AM class is being shown as Joan Vignez, with Stain Lavette, who nearly won yesterday's race, in second, and in third place in the AM class, Sébastien Lajou. Right, I'm going to take a quick screenshot of the result. Talk amongst yourselves, look at the pictures, because in about 5 seconds, the timing system will clear the screen, and I will then have no further references to who won what. Oh, there, taking his helmet off, is Harry King. Race 2 of the Carrera Cup Benelux in a beautiful Spa-Francorchamps, and again from pole position, Race 1 winner Harry King controlling events down into the first corner ahead of Ghislain Cordel and Glenn van Parijs. They were also on the podium in race 1, but in the reverse order. Sam de Jong giving chase early on. There was contact in the midfield. Plenty of ferocious racing. And in the green and white number 7 Pro-Am car, Didier Glorieux trying hard to work his way through the AM category drivers with their ABS braking advantage, making it hard work. The AM class was a hornet's nest of activity all the way through, as was the battle a little further back. Unfortunate, unforced error from Sébastien Lejoux. Last day's podium finishes. And then the change for second place. Glenn van Parijs getting ahead of Ghislain Cordel. And the incident that changed the face of a number of drivers' races. Luc van der Vesten getting turned around, clipping the turned around Philip Bills. Lucas van Eindhoven, car number 14, triggering that safety car. And van der Vesten not making it to the end. After the safety car, Harry King ran away again to take the checkered flag and victory for the second day in a row. So, confirmation of the overall result after various penalties were applied. Still, that safety car inducing incident to be resolved. But Harry King, Glenn van Parijs and Sam de Jong, the podium ahead of Ghislain Cordel, Maxime Soulet and Dylan Derdler. And our Pro-Am top 3, Tom Boonen victorious, Jan Laursen in second, the Pro-Am winner, but on the road, but with penalties, and Didier Glorieux taking third in Pro-Am after getting ahead of the penalised Valters. In AM, Joan Vignes is victorious ahead of yesterday's nearly man, Stain Levet. And Sébastien Lejoux, despite that spin mid-race, will take third in the AM class. Well, Harry King, dominant here in Spa-Francorchamps, the big winner in Belgium, and that gives him a very substantial start to the championship. Tom Boonen had a fairly quiet race in the Red Ant machine today, but ends up with victory in the Pro-Am class. The world champion cyclist and multiple classics winner. And Joan Vignes is our AM class winner in race 2. If you like what you've seen, and why wouldn't you, there is plenty more glorious Porsche racing throughout the season from the Carrera Cup Benelux. You'll also be able to see Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, Porsche Carrera Cup France, Italia, any number of different Carrera Cups dotted around, including in Great Britain. And of course, the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup will be back in action next time out, supporting Formula 1 in the one that they all want to win, the Monaco Grand Prix. But for now, from Spa-Francorchamps, for me, Martin Haven, thank you for joining us. Thank you for enjoying, hopefully you have, 2 glorious races from the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. Harry King off to as good a start as can be hoped for. Harry King, Tom Boonen and Joan Vignes are 3 class winners today. And I'm sure everybody enjoyed their time here at Spa.